And I don't hear him if he's talking.
It's because you.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Oh, it's so meaningful to see all of your beautiful faces. It's really deeply meaningful. So meaningful to come together at this time of the year, especially today, as a community of those who are Jewish, a community of those who live in Jewish homes or with Jewish people, and to just take a deep breath and be thankful for being in this beautiful space on earth. I'm Rabbi Zach Shapiro, and it's an honor to serve this community and to be able to lead us on a journey of goodness and of love and kindness tonight. We're going to open our service with a nigun, a song without words. And I'm seeing as I talk, people are expressing Shabbat Shalom in the chat box. Please do that throughout the service. I know it's kind of like passing notes, but it comes with an extra element of love when we do it on Zoom Shabbat. So feel free to type in the chat box, wishing people Shabbat Shalom, sending your light into other people's homes. So we're going to begin with a nigun, a song without words. And I encourage you from home to hum along, to sing along, to sway a little bit, and allow your soul to be lifted as we enter Shabbat. I diddy die, diddy die, 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 I diddy die, diddy die. I diddy die, diddy die, 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 I diddy die, diddy die. I die, 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 I die, 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 die. Diddy die, diddy die. I die, 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 die. I diddy die, diddy die. I diddy die, diddy die, 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 die. I diddy die, diddy die. I diddy die, diddy die, 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 die. I diddy die, diddy die. I die, 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 I die, 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 die. I diddy die, diddy die. I die, 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 I die, 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 die. I diddy die, diddy die. Die, 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 diddy die, diddy die. Diddy die, diddy die, 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 diddy die, diddy die. Our next piece of music is also somewhat of a nigun. It actually has words to it. Repeat after me, and I'm going to take it on your honor that you'll say this out loud. There's just two words. Repeat after me. Shabbat. I'm seeing your lips move and not move. Let's try it again. Shabbat. Shalom. That's it. Goes like this. You probably just saw an added smile as I did that because two little tiny people walked into the room when they heard the music, little Eli and little Maya. A little bit later, I'll bring them on camera. So you may hear some fun sounds of my babies. They're 15.5 months now. Friends, our days are finally starting to get longer. Finally, we all need that. Shabbat is that moment that we harness every bit of light that we can. And even at this dark time of year, especially at this dark time, we light our candles. So I'm going to do some magic with my placement here. There we go. There's our Shabbat candles. And I invite everyone to please offer the Shabbat blessings with me. Yes, we have toys that make noise in the background. Oh, let me try that again. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. What an honor it is now to welcome Herman Barnathan, first to offer us Kiddush, but then to offer a welcome on behalf of our board. Herman, Shabbat Shalom to you. And Herman, don't forget to unmute.
Thank you, Rabbi, and Shabbat Shalom to you and everybody else. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinkilanu. Zikaron lemase v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikraye kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu forchata ve'otanu kidashta mimkol homi B'Shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. L'chaim. It's my honor to also welcome everybody to the services this evening. Shabbat Shalom to all. You know, this is the last Shabbat service in the year 2020. And I think most of us will be very happy to see this year go bye-bye. We'll look forward to the year 2021, when hopefully the COVID that is going around the country and around the world will start to leave us. And that once again, our synagogue will open and we will all be able to see each other and touch each other and hug each other. There isn't very much to say tonight as far as announcements are concerned, because after all, the synagogue is closed for the this weekend. It's also closed next weekend. There is no Torah study on Saturday. There is no classes, no classes at all next week. Tune in the following week for everything, when once again, Temple Akiba will welcome you to whatever it is we are doing. Shabbat Shalom to everybody.
Thank you so much, Herman. Beautiful, beautiful chanting of the Kiddush.
Thank you.
Friends, we continue with the singing of Chadodi. This is a song that welcomes the Sabbath bride, and it's a reminder that our souls dance on Shabbat. There's a tradition at the final verse to stand and face the entry of your room. And whether you're standing in body or in spirit, we'll invite you to do that at the last verse. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, Ishmianu el hamcha, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet gdila. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor abracha, me'rosh mikeden nesucha. Sof maaseh b'machshavat tefila. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, Iva olech, umiori, uri, shidaberi, kivod Adonai alai nigla. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Chadodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. We ask if you're able to please rise. Bohui v'shalom aderet bala, gam b'simcha ובצהולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Please be seated. What an honor it is to now welcome the president of our congregation, Ira Diamond, who will be leading us in the Chatzi Kaddish.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. Yikadal v'yikadash shamei Rabbah, b'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uvchayeta kol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala, uvizman koriv, ve'imaru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mavora, leolam umeomaya, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitroman, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei Dekudasha Brichu, Leila Min Kol Berchata, Veshirata, Tushbechata Benechemata, Da'ami Rambiama, Ve'imaru, Amen.
Thank you so much, Ira. I think I've shared with the congregation a number of times that this word tushbechata that Ira just sang, tushbechata benechemata. When I was growing up when I was very young, my congregation in Boston was fairly classical reform. The rabbis at that time wore big robes. And at tushbechata, the rabbi would always have a big motion with his hands to please rise. And you can see from his robes the garments hanging. It looked very grand. But as a little boy, I thought that tush b'chata meant get off your tush, because that's when we all stood up. And it was in preparation for the next prayer, which is the call to worship the Barachu. So tush b'chata, everyone. If you're able, get off of your tuchas, which is not a very nice way of saying please rise, because it is a grand welcoming for the next part of our service, the Barachu. Please be seated, everyone. I'll share a midrash, a story about the Shema, our next prayer. It's a favorite midrash of mine, which means that some of you have heard it before. People often ask, why do we traditionally say the Shema loudly, but the Baruch Shem Kavod, the next line, it's said quietly? And there's many explanations. So here's the midrash. Here's the story that is a favorite of mine. Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel. Well, who was Israel? Israel was none other than Jacob. You may recall that our ancestor Jacob, when he wrestled with an angel, that angel changed his name from Jacob to Israel, meaning you have wrestled with God. You've struggled, as Carol Sieben would say. You've struggled with God and you have survived. So when we say Shema Yisrael, we're saying, listen, people of Israel, but we're also saying, listen up, Israel, Jacob. We're saying, listen, Jacob. And so the story teaches that when Jacob, the patriarch, was old and infirm, he was living in Egypt at the time. They had settled there, according to our Torah portion this week. They settled there in Egypt, and Jacob, of course, had all of his sons. And he was really worried that now that they were outside of the land of the ancestors, that his children and grandchildren would forget the traditions, and they would give up on Judaism, and they would become too much like the others around them. And so when he was on his deathbed, Jacob was surrounded by his children, and they said, Shema Yisrael, listen, Jacob, listen, Dad. Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. God is around us, and there's only one God. And Jacob was so relieved that the tradition wasn't going to die with him, that he said in a very soft voice, as an old man might say, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Blessed is God forever and ever. And Jacob died knowing that his children, even though they were surrounded by Egyptian culture, would always remember what it meant to have the light of being a Hebrew, what that meant to have that light flaming inside of them. And so as we offer our Shema today, we say the Shema loudly, and the Baruch Shem Kavod we'll do quietly. We invite all who are able to rise once again, and we'll do our very traditional Zolzer Shema, the one that is loud. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated, everyone. So often we continue with the chanting of the V'ahavta, but I'd like to share a reading from our prayer book, which is a spiritual translation of it. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words which I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or restored or rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, my commandments, so that you can be holy for your God. I am Adonai, your God, who led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Herman shared earlier that this is the last Shabbat of the year. And as is our custom, we like singing the next prayer, the Mikamoja, to a melody which is appropriate for this time of year. So let me try this. This is the Mikamoja. Mikamoja ba'elim Adonai. Mikamoja ne'edar ba'kodesh. Nora tehilot, Nora tehilot. O sefele, O sefele. The first person who can write in the chat box what this comes from, what traditional Jewish song this comes from, gets 2 million rabbi points. First person to write it in the chat box. What melody was this? Auld Lang Syne, right. You got it. And that comes from Jay Swerdlow. Jay, that is worth 2 million rabbi points, which is also worth many, many rabbi hugs, which I will give you next time I see you in person. And we have a lot of others who are a little bit later to the game with Auld Lang Syne. We are going to now continue with our Amidah. Again, this is a standing prayer. And I also saw someone earlier in the service, I think it was Kim Lerner, asking if Cantrolani is okay. Cantrolani is fine. She and I usually, these last 2 Shabbats of the year, take turns. So I get tonight, she gets next week. I should say I'm taking tonight leading, she'll take next week leading. So we continue with the Amidah. We're on page 46, I'm on page 46. You're watching our screen unless you have a book in front of you. We ask you once again to please rise. Adonai sivatai tiftach ufia gite hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei ahavot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei b'neihem, lema'an shemo b'ahava, melech ozer u'moshia u'magin. Baruch atah Adonai, magin Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol atah, Rav Lohoshia, Mashiv Haruach Umorid Hagashem, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim. So Homech Noflim Verofe Choholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Baal Givurot, Umido melech, melech memihit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'emanat hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shemcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated, everyone. Friends, in many ways, I often feel like I should have been born 15 years before I was. Why? Because some of my favorite music is music from the folk rock era of the 1960s. And as many of you know, Simon and Garfunkel are my musical inspirations. I in fact often refer to Paul Simon as Rabbi Paul Simon because of his poetry, specifically his early poetry, was just so hauntingly beautiful and spoke so deeply to many of us. Some of you may recall a couple of years ago, we had an entire Shabbat evening service set to Simon and Garfunkel music. And we'll be bringing some of that again back to one of our services coming up actually in the next couple of months. There's one particular song that they sang that Paul Simon wrote that many of you are familiar with. It's called Bookends. And in fact, it was the title of one of their most groundbreaking albums. And the song itself goes somewhat like this. Old friends, sat on their park bench like bookends. And that lyric just gives you an image of two people just sitting on that bench, reflecting on their lives. I think about bookends a lot in our own lives, and it became something central today. This morning, after Eli and Maya had their breakfast, I took Eli and he held me, his whole hand wrapped around my finger, and he's got these big old hands. And we walked around the floor of our upstairs twice. And he led the way, and he wanted to go down a long hallway and then into the kitchen and out. And then he wanted to do it again, and it was very sweet. And then again, about an hour and a half ago, I was with my parents, and my dad was in a wheelchair. And he said, "Zach, can you take me down to the end of the hallway?" And I did. And he asked me to take him through the kitchen, and I did. And he asked me to do it again. And it brought a tear to my soul, the bookends of this day, starting with my son and finishing with my father. And it brought a smile to everyone. It wasn't sad. It brought a smile. And it makes us all reflect. I mean, here we are at the end of our year, of our secular year. And what a year it's been. What are the bookends that we've experienced? How did we begin the year? And how are we ending it? Now, before going more deeply into that reflection, I want to show you something brilliant about our Torah portion, which is called Vayigash. And as you all know, it's my favorite Torah portion. It begins with Joseph, who has just been made prime minister of Egypt. And it goes through a very significant story of his revealing his identity to his brothers, who didn't quite realize that this man who was the prime minister was the brother that they had sold into slavery years earlier. Let me try something here. I'm going to go into a screen share. Here we go. So you should be able to see. Can someone, Herman, can you just put a thumb up so to make sure that if you see that screen share? Good, thank you. I've highlighted a word in the Hebrew as well as the English. The English says, "Then Judah came near unto him." Usually in Hebrew, a different word is used for coming near. It's the word connected to the word bow, to come close. But here's the word Vayigash. It's the name of the portion. Judah is the oldest, is one of the brothers, of course, of Joseph, and one of the sons, the most important son of Jacob. He's where the name Jewish comes from. We're from the tribe of Judah. The Torah begins with this word Vayigash, to approach, to come near. But here's where the bookends comes in. The very last line of the Torah portion, it's at verse 27. It says, "Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, in the land of Goshen." And it really means they rooted themselves therein and were fruitful and multiplied. This is how the Hebrews got to Egypt. We got there because there was that famine, and we needed to go there for provisions, and we did very well. But the land in Egypt is called the land of Goshen. Goshen is from that same word, Vayigash. You can hear the G sound, you can hear the SH sound. Vayigash and Goshen. It also means to approach or to be near. Our very Torah portion is bookends. The same word is used at the beginning, and it's used almost at the very last word of the portion. And it begs that question, just that placement of the portion. What are our bookends at the beginning and at the end of the year? And using that word from our portion, Vayigash, How will we find ways to approach our heart and soul to make sure that we end the year with holiness? It comes with a series of penetrating questions. First and foremost, what will our bookends be this year? Are we leaving things open, or are we trying to close things as much as possible? How did your year begin? How is it with health? How is it with the people who surrounded you? And how is it ending? A lot of us have experienced incredible loss and fear because of this illness. What journeys did we begin? What journeys were we not allowed to continue? But what journeys presented themselves in ways we never thought possible? Who did we lose? Who died this year? And who was born? Who entered a phase of an illness that we often don't want to think about? And who survived? What scared us? And what were the great moments of pride? What plans did we put off? And what plans did we begin? Friends, on this Shabbat of our secular bookends, and they may be religious as well, we really think deeply about our journeys. And like Jacob's ladder, which I never thought of as a straight ladder, I always think of it as a spiral staircase. How have we ascended? And in what ways are we spiritually higher than how we began? Friends, while this is the last Shabbat of 2020, we still have about 6 days to go. Perhaps you feel like there's more that you can do to complete your bookend. And perhaps you want to fast forward these next 6 days and say goodbye and good riddance to 2020. Let's move on to 2021. I get it, and I agree. And yet we still have the opportunity to harness what we can and to take stock of who we are. Let's take a deep breath. And offer this blessing to ourselves and to each other. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu. Our God and God of our ancestors, allow us, allow me to find the voice within and without to complete this cycle and to begin a new one, to begin it with fresh eyes and a renewed soul, to learn how to ask the challenging questions, to have the strength to face the demons that are within, but also the strength to break through the chains that bind me down. Dear God, allow me to stay healthy and allow our world to accept this vaccine, which is just coming to us. Allow us to emerge from quarantine so that we can fully embrace life once again. Amen and amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May that be God's will. Friends, as I look around this space on Zoom, and for those who are watching via YouTube, I feel like I see you as well. I'm seeing people in this space who are in need of healing. I'm seeing people who have come through difficulties and who are going through difficulties. I see you. And we want to offer this blessing together. This is the Misha Berach, our blessing for healing. As we share this together, for those who you know who could use strength on this Shabbat, please share those names in the chat box. You're not alone. It looks like I'm going to step away for a moment. It's only, oh, my guitar's behind me. Here it is. So please share those names. And please know that this blessing comes from our souls right to yours. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage, make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And let us say Amen. Our concluding prayers begin with the Aleinu. And if we were in person at Temple Akiba, I would ask someone to open the Ark. And in this case, to honorarily open our Ark, I invite Jacob Lerner. You don't have to come, excuse me, you don't have to come on screen, but Jacob, we want to imagine that you are ascending the Bima and opening the Ark for us for the Aleinu. And we invite the congregation to please rise. Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad. Please be seated, everyone. As we prepare for the mourner's Kaddish, Kaddish Yatom, we offer this reading by Chana Senish. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. but the stars that light up the darkest night. These are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We remember now those in our community who have died, who continue to shine upon us from their eternal resting spaces. We begin first with those who have died most recently. And I know that the former brother-in-law of Charlene London has died. I'm not sure if his burial has happened yet or not, but Charlene, your community surrounds you with much love. In Shloshim, we remember Louise Zakheim, mother of Ra Zakheim. If there are additional names that you are thinking of who have died in these past 30 days, please place those names in our chat box. We also remember the yard sites, the anniversaries of the deaths that occur on this Shabbat. And we begin with those who have plaques in our Sue and Jerry Erfrig Memorial Room, including Mendel Aaron, Trudy Chernus, Molly Dryzak, Celia Elfman, Edward Elfman, Jack Greenberg, Harry Kasdan, Joseph Conblet, Yetta Michelson, Martin Miller, Israel Miller, Morris Newman, Dorothy Samet, Marie Samuels, Franny Starkman, Cerise Zulkind. We also remember these additional yard sites. And again, if you have a person that you are remembering at this time who may not be on our list, please add them to our box. Jennifer Alexander, Marion Bernstein, Paul Breslow, Florence Dubin, Tamara Fischel, Betty Frankel, Damon Geller, Earl Gross, Jeanette Grossman, Esther Haber, Greta Himmel, Howard Huckman, Theodore Kaplan, Louis Kent, Dora Knopf, Elaine Matthew, Nathan Ostrin, Joe Perkin, Rose Perlick, Harriet Rosenberg, Lillian Rutberg, Ruth Saperstein, Irving Sommers, Rose Starr, Lillian Ullman, David Vogel. May their memories always guide us with goodness. We rise as a community for the mourners Kaddish Kaddish Yatom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Bi'amad divrach rotev yamlich malchuteh. B'chayechon of yomechon. U'v'chayeh dechol Beit Yisrael. Bagalau v'yizman kariv imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam u'amei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal. Shemei T'Kudusha B'richu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Damiran v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chayim. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. V'imru amen. May the one who causes peace to be known in the high heavens help us understand that by reaching out to one another, we create peace on earth as well. For all Israel and for all humanity, we say, Amen. Before our closing song, Ellen August, I see that you're here. Please be seated. It's actually quite extraordinary. I was at Shalom Cemetery earlier this week where Howard is buried, and I was right there by his grave, knowing that his yard site was on this Shabbat. So I want you to know that I was connected there, and I'm glad that we're connected here as well. Hold on one second, everyone. We've got an important blessing right here. Hello, Eli. Eli, do you want to be with Abba? I think Eli wants to be with Abba. Oh, Abba, can you bring Maya in? There we go. You want to be with, and that's it. Everyone say Shabbat Shalom to Eli and to Maya. Here we are. Say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful.
You see everybody waving?
Hello.
You see everybody waving, sweetie?
They're all waving. They're all
Saying, oh,
waving.
there you're waving. Good girl. Look at how you're waving. Very good.
Right. So Abba, maybe they can sit for our closing song. Are you
Mhm.
able to play both of them?
Uh-huh.
All
All right. Oh. Here's one.
You got the other?
And whoopsie.
Got him? Oh,
And then she just got my glasses.
all right. We're going to go over there.
All right.
Okay, everyone. Our closing is Oseh Shalom. And we invite all of you to please join us with lots of energy and lots of love. Oseh Shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu. Shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'yavo Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'yavo Yisrael. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'yavo Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'yavo Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'yavo Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'yavo Yisrael. With many thanks to Herman for our Kiddush, to Ira for our Chatzi Kaddish, to Carol Diamond, our Zoom master. There's so much to be grateful for, even with the challenges that this year has been. I don't have a fancy schmancy challah the way Cantorlani does, but I still have a challah. Everyone, our tradition is to put your hands toward your camera so we can feel like we're all connected to the challah. We are spiritually connected. And we offer together, Motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices joining happy chorus as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Motzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.